Hello and welcome to the Home Assistant Podcast. My name is Rohan, and as usual, I'm joined with my friend Phil. Hey, Phil.
Hey Rohan, how you doing?
Good. And today we have Jimmy on the show. Jimmy, how are you doing, man?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thanks for having me.
This podcast is sponsored by Home Assistant Cloud by Nabukasa. For a small monthly fee, you'll unlock powerful features like secure, effortless access to your system from anywhere, your choice of voice assistants, offsite backups, and more, all configurable within the UI with no YAML needed. It also supports the development of Home Assistant, ESP Home, and other Open Home Foundation projects. Click the link in the description to learn more. We'd also like to give a shout out to our Patreon members, including our executive producers, Benny and Rob. You can also help support the show and get early access to episodes, all in an ad free feed. To support the show, check out homeassistant.fm and click Patreon in the menu. All right, Jimmy, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. A little bit of backstory for our listeners here. We randomly ran into you at CES. We were at another booth with, I think it was the Blacklight booth.
It was
And
Blacklight, yes.
yeah, and I think we both saw each other's badges. You're like, oh, you're from Toronto. Hey, you do the Home Assist podcast. Hey, you run Nanoleaf. And we just got chatting that way. And you're here.
Yeah, Home Assistant is cool. Like I keep up with a lot of the developments from Home Assistant. So when I ran into you guys, it was really cool because I didn't meet anyone from Home Assistant before, just never crossed
Yeah,
paths. But yeah, it was good. It actually, yeah, like CES was 8 months ago, so it's been a while. It's been been,
I
been
know.
busy. You've been busy with your kid.
Yeah. It's been it's I've had not had a whole kid. I had a kid before that too, but he's grown and so on, right? So it's been interesting.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's first year's tough. So
oh, it is. Luckily, I'm just past that hump, but it's still we're just easing off right now, right? It's starting to get in that fun stage, but
another 20 years. Yeah, no, just
yeah,
kidding.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And you've got two of your own as well, and I know that's I'm sure a handful.
It definitely is. But yeah, no, Home Assistant is great though. So I think through you guys, I connected with some of the folks from the Nabukasa team. So it's good. It's good to be actually to understand a little bit more about how it works. I think from my perspective, and the people that use Home Assistant, I've always seen them as like the super early adopters, like the developers that just want the most
Yeah,
customized home, like the hackers. And it's not necessarily like our the focus of our target audience. Like we make consumer products. That's
yeah,
for probably like the part of that adoption curve that's just after those
Mm.
guys. But I think it was
yeah.
really cool. Like I think the first time I dabbled with Home Assistant, I logged in and I saw there was already an integration with our light panels. I was like, "This is amazing! Who did
Yeah.
this?"
Yeah.
That's
Like,
funny.
yeah, it's amazing that like people that are super passionate about this, they just spend their own free time to develop features that they want, which is incredible. It's not necessarily easy to do that either.
Oh, and I
So
guess that's also a credit to Nanoleaf as well, right? Because you've got an open enough system that someone was able to create their own integration into Home Assistant without Nanoleaf needing to be involved, right? Like here you are, Jimmy Chu, like from Nanoleaf, like the CEO of Nanoleaf, going, "Hey, I didn't know we had this integration with Home Assistant," and being like, "That's cool," right? So you didn't have to spend resources to integrate it; it was already there, and that's I think one of the beautiful things about open source.
it's true. So very early on, when we developed our first set of light panels, one of our big initiatives was to create an open API that goes with it. And then, we actually created a developer website. So I think it's developers.nanoleaf.me. Um, and from there, anyone could create whatever they want to just they get the security credentials, they get like basically, how to actually access our APIs. And a lot of different applications came from it, a lot of different integrations that we didn't need to be involved with, which was incredible. Actually, one of the things that we did was we had an SDK as well where you could actually develop your own different lighting effects. That was a little bit more complicated though. That required like knowledge of C and C++ and the ability to like run code on our embedded software. So we only had a few submissions there, but the open API that allowed people to control our devices from the network, that was a big hit. And so I think that that was I would say a big part of our success. The reason why people adopted it is it's like I think there was like a lot of gamer companies like
Mhm.
Razer, Corsair, they were
Yeah.
able to do the integrations without our help. Like Home Assistant is obviously another example of it. But I think over the years, there's different layers of it too. Like, if you use the Nanoleaf app, you'll know that we have a Discover tab where we have user generated scenes, which again is also like really, really cool. I think the only
Yeah.
drawback of that is we need a better algorithm for the lesser popular ones to bubble up. But literally,
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
have like tens of thousands of like scenes that have been created and shared by our users. We just need to I think that's the power of the community, right? Like there's only so much that our dev team could do, but being tapping into open APIs, open SDKs, like discovery tab for user generated content, it just it creates more of a community feel to our products.
Yeah, absolutely. And also then the community is driving where some of those features come from. Like I'm guessing there are use cases for Nanoleaf that they're out there now that you probably wouldn't have even thought about, right? Like in home automation context, you just mentioned gaming. There's probably, a whole myriad of integrations that work and empower Nanoleaf to do things that wouldn't have been on your roadmap or on your radar.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the emerging one is of course AI, right? It's hard to say how AI is going to integrate with IoT, but kind of makes sense, right? Like, you have this intelligence that's capable of doing all sorts of things, including the creation of code. So now you have, like just in the last 10 years, IoT really took off. So you have all these connected devices. Now, I don't think we're there yet in terms of the smart home with AI, with, like the ecosystems haven't really done anything interesting yet. But if I had to guess, one of the first communities that will do something interesting is Home Assistant. So it's just, will it be easy for the everyday consumer to set up? Well, time will tell.
Well, I mean, certainly, like we're recording just as 2025.8 landed, and I'm sure there'll be something new AI in 2025.9. But in 2025.8 of Home Assistant, they just you can see the very first previews of what AI is going to look like in Home Assistant. Right, there's suggestions with AI to label automations and tag things. I can only imagine, like 12 months time, we're going to have the ability to for Home Assistant to use an open AI API and say, give me an automation that turns the lights on and off in natural language, and it just does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. But I think that it needs to go beyond just voice control. It needs to do like actually, intelligent decision making for your home, which
Yeah.
uh, that's, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I've talked about it on the show before, but there's one YouTuber that I watch, Tech Enthusiast, and he let essentially I don't know what system it was, ChatGPT or Gemini or something like that. He basically let it take over, and it's funny because he randomly see like, oh, this light randomly turned on. Okay, okay, cool, maybe right, and that kind of thing is like overall it's a cool thought experiment, right, to see kind of where it's going and what you can do with it. And I like seeing that kind of stuff because it's like it really like sparks a lot of ideas, right? um
Yeah, I
but
think
yeah.
when we were thinking about lights, there's two cardinal sins. One
Yeah.
is turning the lights on when you don't want them on, and the
Yeah.
other is turning the lights off when you don't want them off.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have experienced it with like those motion sensors in bathrooms,
All the
and
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
and then you have
Yeah.
to be
We
like,
all
oh
have.
crap, I'm in a public bathroom and now the lights are off. What do I do?
How long have I been in here? Yeah. Yeah. It's
Sorry.
no,
TMI, TMI.
yeah, hey, we've all been there, man. Um, but yeah, no, exactly, right. And I think there's something to be said about just kind of how that whole piece works there, right? Especially with AI and all that stuff.
So I always thought that it makes sense to have cameras to give AI context of what you're doing. it would be, but then people don't want cameras inside their house, right? So
Yep.
that's the drawback. And so there's the idea of maybe like infrared cameras, so that at least you're just seeing kind of body heat or whatever. But it's a little bit of a tough problem to solve. And maybe it's how necessary is it, right? Like at the end of the day,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's not, you don't require it to live. I think we've lived thousands of years without that, right? And I get your point, right? But I mean,
yeah,
we are kind of getting there with presence sensors and all that stuff as those are becoming more ubiquitous. But I know what you mean. Like it's a it's some of it is context. Like am I picking something up, for example, right? Whereas a presence sensor might think that I've fallen over or something like that. So
right.
again, there's a lot of that kind of
I'm sure it'll get there. I'm sure it'll get there with presence sensors, with cameras, with
yeah,
AI. I'm pretty impressed with like the latest developments of AI. Like especially
yeah,
the one where you turn on your phone camera and it's able to see what's going on and actually like have context of what's going on.
yeah.
It's That's crazy, right? So I think that there's going to be a new development of hardware that's going to be coming out just to support these different types of use cases. And I'm sure you guys have probably seen the news that like I think OpenAI had acquired the company that what's his name from Apple, Johnny Ives, had created, and they're basically thinking about what is the new form factor of hardware for supporting AI. Like I think some companies tried to do stuff like the humane pin or whatever, maybe a little bit before their time, wasn't ready yet, but it's a matter of time before we have new types of hardware to support all these things. Um, so yeah, I think it'll be interesting though. It's really cool.
Are you guys doing anything? Have you guys thought of, or are you guys kind of in that process, or
I think
is
as
it even required?
I think as an IoT company and as a product company, I think a big part of it is being super close to the open standards as well as the open source community,
Yeah,
right? So I think that like the more closed off you are, well, the harder it is for AI to be able to like take take control over your things. And for us, like we're doing lights. We're not doing anything like we're not doing cameras. We're not like doing security locks. Like there's when somebody comes to your house, you're not like don't control my lights, dude. Like no, you're like hey, do what you want with the lights. Um, obviously you don't want your neighbors like turning your lights on and off. That's kind of annoying. But for the most part, like, I think having that open access makes a lot of sense. You just want to make sure that the right decisions are being made. And of course, like as we dabble into other types of products outside of lighting, then, we'll make sure that we make the right decisions there. But I think overall, like being part like there's a big part of me that just wants to make it so that people could overwrite our firmware with open source firmware. Something that they could just like take over and just write their own code. It's not like we're not making money from the software. We're making money from selling the hardware. So take over, do what you want, right? And the open API is like one step towards that direction. Same with an open SDK, but like it should go one step further and just be like, hey, have at it. Here's some hardware. Do some cool stuff with it. And I think like before, the number of people that were capable of being software developers is very limited. It was like you needed like to understand a whole other language. Nowadays with AI, almost anyone could be a software developer.
yeah,
So
yeah,
now all of a sudden you have this huge pool of people that are capable of creating code that runs on hardware. So let them do amazing things with it, right?
yeah,
So that's
yeah,
kind of my thinking, and I think that we don't know what's going to come of it, but in the end, just it'll be kind of cool, and I think that that would be an interesting angle to go.
yeah,
We're not there yet, and internally within my team, like I've been kind of like talking about it, and it's challenging because we didn't necessarily plan all of our products to support that, and actually,
sure,
like when we first started off, a lot of our stuff was developed very closely with Apple. So Apple, we were one of the first companies that had HomeKit enabled products.
Hmm.
And then it was only over the recent years that they kind of shifted over to being like, you know what, we're not going to manage our own kind of protocol anymore. We're going to shift over to Matter. But even Matter and HomeKit, both of them had pretty stringent like security requirements, and like just they had ways in which they wanted the software to work that
Yeah.
might not always jive that well with kind of the open source community, right?
Well, and I think it's also even from a hardware manufacturer, and I think Jimmy, you and I were talking about this when I came down to your office, just all kinds of like incompatibilities and stuff like that, right? Like wireless drivers that you randomly run into issues with and stuff like that because and that's out of as a device manufacturer, you're not making wireless chipsets, you're making lights, right? And it's y- y- it, it's you start to realize how many different layers there are into this one product, right? And it's like obviously you've got the lights behind you there, right? And you can see them changing colors and stuff, and it's like, okay, they're lights, but it's actually it's a lot of effort, right? It's not integration is not easy.
So our light panels, the lines product that you see behind me, they
Yeah.
run like a very simple like Linux server on there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like
No.
even like
Yeah.
when you power it up, it literally has to boot up, right? It
Yeah.
loads up an
Yeah.
operating system, and then it loads up our code, and then
Yeah.
like after 30 seconds or so, that's when it actually starts playing the proper lighting effect. So that was our original light panels, and of course, there's new forms of embedded systems that boot up much faster, and we're moving towards that. But yeah, like you said, there's a lot of layers to it. There's and even like most connected products now, they still do commissioning through Bluetooth. So there's Bluetooth radios, and then after Bluetooth, there's Wi-Fi, and then sometimes it's sharing like different antennas, and it's just like there's a lot of complexity to it that I think a lot of consumers don't understand, and also the industry. It took several years for the industry to really understand how to make this hardware in a way that's reliable, right? Like so, I think like at the very beginning when we first started creating our light panels, we used like a Wi-Fi method of commissioning the product on the network. What it did was it first, the device itself broadcasted a Wi-Fi signal. Then your phone would connect to that Wi-Fi, pass it the network credentials, then it would disconnect from that Wi-Fi, hope that the device connected to the right Wi-Fi network and started broadcasting like an IP address
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then hopefully when you go back to the Wi-Fi network it finds each other.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is still the case with so many products today,
It
right?
is.
Tons.
It is because
Tons.
it was a lot of work to create that, both on the app side as well as on the hardware side. And it took us years to actually reverse that out and just do a simple Bluetooth commissioning because it was just like so many routers just didn't handle that well, right? So phones didn't handle that well, and then Android made these different decisions around like, well, we're not going to let you do that anymore. You're going to have to manually switch Wi-Fi networks. And then the whole process of going from a mobile app, then going to your Android settings page and selecting a different network, then going back to the mobile app, it's just like, how do you expect any? There's too many steps. But it was like, it's not that we wanted these steps. It's just the Android device, like what's it called, the OS. They changed the way that they work, and they forced us to go down this path because they weren't really thinking about IoT products. And it's not to say it's their fault. It was probably for some type of security reason that they did that. But it was like the industry took a while to really figure out like what is the right way to like work with connected devices. And even now, it's like, is the industry Thread or is it Wi-Fi? What is it? They're basically competing standards for smart home, and we are straddling both, which is a whole story in itself.
And well, you'll have the purists of every different camp, right? Hey, everything should be Zigbee, everything should be Z-Wave, everything, right? And I've even heard few people being like, I love when everything is Bluetooth. I strongly disagree with those people, but but again, you're allowed to have your opinion
Yeah.
and fine, right? But That's exactly it though, Jimmy. Right? It's you're managing all these different stacks. You're doing all this stuff, but the cool thing is, I think open source is what there's a couple of nice caveats, right? It's one, it's people can kind of do it to their heart's content. You throw in whatever you want to throw in the hardware, right? And then I think on the other side of it, again, like I said, people can kind of make it whatever they want, but there's also a nice piece where, especially if it's a larger project that's compatible with it, there's a lot of auditing. There's a lot of like I inherently trust open source projects more than I do closed source projects, and it's completely invalid, right? Because in my head, I'm like, people are auditing this. Somebody's looking through the code. I have no idea what it means, but somebody's doing this, right? But realistically, that's probably not true. People can just embed whatever they
I think it
want in
depends on
there.
the code base, right? If you have a
That's it.
huge community of people contributing to the code base, then it might be safe to assume that the bugs will get ironed out by the masses.
Yeah.
But if you
Yeah.
have like a small contribution kind of group, then
Yep.
bugs kind of just stay there for a while, and it's like sometimes it goes unmaintained, and then also sometimes like you have bad players in there doing bad
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And that's where it's kind of nice, like with the Open Home Foundation, how they've got it structured, and there's a lot of stuff. Again, even provisioning, like Bluetooth provisioning, they have what's called BT Home, I think it's called. Um,
yeah, it's
but
it's definitely
you
really
know,
good, but I think it's just the
yeah,
challenge is it's still targeted towards a smaller demographic of the hackers, the builders, the developers still. I think over time that will change to just basically the enthusiasts. And that's really what I think that's really the goal of it. But right now, because it's so heavy on the development, basically it's developers and like, yeah, those types of people that are really the ones that would be keen on doing it. Right. But yeah, I think it's great. Like we're gonna continue to do more things close to the open source community, and if I could open source our products and just make it so that you could just put whatever code base on there, that would be like that's actually the direction that I want to head. So that's something that I'm pretty committed to.
Awesome.
all right. So I mean, from changing gears a little bit, I want to know about Nanoleaf, how you kind of got to like where did Nanoleaf come from?
Ooh,
Like was it
the
just
origin
something you thought
story.
of? Yeah.
The origin story. So Nanoleaf there's three founders of Nanoleaf, me and two of my good friends.
Yeah.
The three of us, we all went to the University of Toronto, and
Yep.
when we were students there, we were part of the solar car team. So it's a team of students that build a car fully powered by solar energy. And really, it was just we were just joining a club to be like, okay, well, all the stuff that we're learning in school, how do we actually like do something practical with it?
Yeah.
And one of my co-founders, Tom, he was doing his PhD at the time, and he wasn't even an engineer. He was doing a PhD in biophysics, but he was
Okay.
leading all of the electronics development on this solar
That's cool.
powered car. And me and Christian, my other business partner, we were just amazed. We were just like, who is this guy? He's not even doing an electrical engineering degree, and he knows and understands circuit design, and he's able to create like a super energy efficient car that was fully powered by solar energy. And we were just like amazed. And even to this day, like he's by far the best engineer that I've ever met, even though he doesn't have an engineering degree. So he's just like I think like the way he thinks about circuit design is actually like he thinks of it like a physicist does, about electrons moving through different materials and through different pieces of hardware. So from there, that was back in school. After we graduated, we kind of went separate ways. I went into like technology consulting. I worked for Accenture for about 7 years. My business partner, my best friend at the time, Christian, he went into manufacturing. He worked for his family business, and he was running a factory in China making bathtubs. Okay, so he has an electrical engineering degree, and he was making bathtubs in China for his family business. So I would go visit him, and he was just miserable. He was like, "What am I doing in this small town, living in a factory? I have this electrical engineering degree. What the hell was that for? And then Tom, he was actually working in a pharmaceutical company doing like manufacturing proteins and doing some research of like different ways in which to develop proteins. Um, but we started to get together and be like, hey, like we built this cool solar car. Why don't we try and create a product that we could actually sell, right? And I remember talking to Tom about it, and he was like, "Look, I can tinker and make these things. What am I going to do? Just put it on eBay, sell one or two pieces, and then hand make these things? Like it doesn't make any sense." So I was like, "You know what? Let's go visit Christian." And at the time, I was a consultant, so I had all these like airline points, and I was flying around all the time at hotel points. I was like, "Here, use my points. Me and you, let's go to China. Let's spend a week there." And Christian's going to show us around, and he's going to introduce us to all these like different factories that we could actually work with. So we went over there and we started understanding how supply chain really works, how our
Mm.
hardware products made. And it was, like it's kind of really cool. It's a different side of like Asia that most people don't get to see. It's like,
Yeah.
there's the how stuff's made. I think there's like different TV shows that show that it's kind of a
Yeah.
variation of that, but less Hollywood. And sometimes like you have high end factories that like manufacture electronics that are all like fully automated. And sometimes you see really ghetto ones where it's just like people hand sewing
Yeah.
gloves together, like
Yeah.
but from there, we started understanding, okay, well, if we design something, now we know how to make it at scale. And so we're like, actually, our first product that we tried to create was a solar product.
Oh
And
wow.
we originally called it the nano grid. So
Okay.
this actually goes back.
Ah, that's
So
kind of
that
cool.
so we there's the macro grid, there's the micro grid, which is maybe for like a small apartment or a community or whatever, you can have a
Right.
microgrid. And then we thought a nanogrid. It's a portable solar device where you could actually like daisy chain multiple battery packs
Yeah.
together and be able to form a nanogrid. And then we created it. It was really really cool. But the problem is we were like, well, how do we ship lithium ion? Like, we can't put it on a boat. We can't take it on a
Mm,
plane. So we were just kind of stuck. We were like,
Yeah.
okay, we have this cool product, no
What
way
now?
to transport it anywhere. So let's just keep building. Let's make a light bulb to go with it. And then we're like, well, if it has to work off of solar energy, it needs to be really, really energy efficient. But it still needs to be bright. We'll sell it to Africa, places that are off grid. And then so we went down this path of developing a super energy efficient light bulb. And what we ended up creating was actually the world's most energy efficient light bulb. It was about 150 lumens per watt. At the time, I think most of the products on the market were only about 70 lumens per watt, so we almost doubled whatever was on the market. And if you search on Kickstarter for, I think it's called Nano Light, you'll see our original Kickstarter video from like 2013, where it was the world's most energy efficient light bulb, and we ended up like the three of us, we raised about $270,000 dollars from Kickstarter, and that was the beginning of our company. So that was the origin story of Nanoleaf. We Yeah, we ran into a trademark issue with Nanolite. It wasn't really an issue. There was a company that was called Nanolite, and they were like, "You guys have a really cool product. I'm pretty impressed with what you've done. However, we do have the trademark, so you guys are gonna have to change your name." We're like, "All right, I'll change my name."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then, we never really envisioned ourselves being a light bulb company. We really wanted to like create like just really great technology for like products for the world. And so
Yeah.
we thought, okay, let's just call ourselves Nanoleaf. It's a nice made up name, and it kind of gives us the opportunity to kind of branch out to do different things. And here we are 10 years later.
That's awesome. And I'm sure like stuff like COVID and all that stuff helped too because there's a big boom of people again being like gamers especially, right? Big boom of that kind of culture with lighting and all that stuff. And then again, even a lot of just DIYers, people that are just staying at home. It's like, hey, I want a cool home office,
It's true.
right?
So home decor, really shot up during COVID.
Yeah.
So I think we were, timing for business. A lot of it has to do with timing, right? So were you in the right place, right time? Like, I think if we were trying to start selling light panels today, it's just like, between inflation and the fact that everyone's like, return to work, can't
Yeah.
afford a home, let alone renovate. Like these are the challenges that the world's facing now, right? So it's a different market. But during COVID, and the years leading up to it, like people were getting better and better jobs, employment was at an all-time high. um, I think overall, like interest rates were really low. Then COVID happened, and the government was giving out tons of subsidies so that people had all this extra money in their pockets, and they were all at home. So they were like, okay, how do I soup up my place? How do I make my background nice? Because this is my future office, or my gamer pad, right? So yeah.
Well, if you're looking to upgrade your smart home, you can't go past Zeus. Add Z-Wave long range to your home assistant setup with the Zeus ZST39 USB radio. Their advanced technology operates in dual network mode, combining a reliable mesh system and ultra-fast direct device-to-hub connectivity. And with Z-Wave long-range support, you can get coverage up to 1,300 feet or 400 meters, both indoors and outdoors. And it's extremely secure with the unique DSK QR code scanning, which you can do directly within Home Assistant. The Z-Wave JS integration in Home Assistant enables seamless compatibility with a range of brands all working together through this secure, private, and standardized off-cloud protocol. But that's just the start. Zeus offer a range of affordable and innovative devices, including water leak sensors, water valve controllers, smart plugs, scene controllers, and even color paddles. Their Zen 34 remote switch has just been Z-Wave certified, bringing flexible scene control to your smart home. Seamless wall mounting and battery operated, the Zen 34 offers intuitive control without any rewiring needed. For the best prices on all Zeus products, head over to thesmartesthouse.com. That's thesmartesthouse.com.
All right. So Jimmy, let's speaking of, smart houses, uh love to know what you're doing at home. Do you do any home automation yourself? Dabble?
I uh I do a lot of product testing.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
That's
I'm
one way.
pro-
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have a lot of technology at home. I think just like, well, I do have I remember early on when I became like, when I became a founder and a CEO of a company. I watched a video of another CEO of a mainstream company. It was a phone company. I don't want to name names because
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
kind of mean, but like, the CEO, he was, I think, trying to turn around the company. He picks up the phone and he was trying to demo it to someone in the press, and he just had no idea how to use it. And I was like, how could you be the CEO of a company and not know how to use your own product?
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
But also, like, I do come from like a software background too, so I believe like heavily in product testing. And so, like, my house is like a major test bed. And actually, I invite my developers to my house all the time. It's like, hey, I'm running into this problem. We need to troubleshoot it. We need to troubleshoot it here. In my house, I probably have like close to 10 border routers.
That's
So
all.
it's like,
Wow.
it's crazy, right? Because I have like the Apple TV, I have Google Home, I have Alexa, I have the Eero router, I have tons of Nanoleaf products that are also border routers, and all of them, like, and I have multiples of all of these, right? So it's just, I have a very, very complex like smart home, but at the same time, like, things need to work, right? And there's also other challenges with stuff like mesh routers and different types of mesh routers. Some mesh routers don't support IPv6, and it's just like, these are some of the complexities that our customers face. So it's just like, how do I recreate this within a home, and at the same time test and understand all of our products at a very deep level. So, and also I'm pretty passionate about it, right? Like, I have tons of connected cameras. I have like, the Sonos speakers. Like, I'm a big fan of Sonos. I was very sad about what they've been going through, the challenges that they've been going through, but doesn't change the fact that I think their audio quality is just great. Like it's just
Yeah, and once again, another integration that because they had an open standard, right? Like was in Home Assistant from very early days, and I bet
yeah,
you Sonos had nothing to do with that.
yeah, yeah. It's probably just they have passionate customers that are just like, I love this product. I'm gonna make it work with my smart home. So it's I haven't really gone into the fancy stuff like Control 4 and Crestron.
I was going to say, have you got
Yeah.
any have you got a central brain? Like obviously, Home Assistant is a central brain. You said you dabbled in it, but I'm guessing you
I
don't have Home Assistant. Have you got another
I
central
do
brain?
use Home Assistant. I also use Google Home, and I also
Hmm.
use Apple Home. I wouldn't say I have a central brain because primarily with Nanoleaf, like we do a lot of app rollouts, so I usually test with the Nanoleaf products using the Nanoleaf app just to test out the features. Um, I'm currently using an iPhone. Usually I try and
Yeah.
swap like every couple of years between Android and iPhone.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Um,
Yeah.
I also switch between, like, right now I'm using a PC at the office. I use a MacBook.
Yeah.
Sometimes like I have a PC based laptop as well. I'm a bit of a gamer, so I like I
That
kind
that
of
was
need
actually
my
going to be my
PC.
next question. Yeah. That's fair.
I I don't know. I don't know if I should share the skeletons in my closet. But
That's
yeah,
funny.
I do like my home setup is actually a PC mainly because I play video
Yeah.
games to kind of like de-stress.
Yeah.
Decompress. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, yeah. So I would say like I kind of dabble in all sorts of different types of things. I do have several Raspberry Pis at home. One of them just to run an emulator of like old school video games.
Nice.
And then I have the Home Assistant Green. I bought the Voice Assistant, the demo version,
Yeah. The preview
Yeah.
vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the preview
Yeah.
edition. Yeah, yeah. To be honest, I didn't figure out how to set it up properly.
Yeah.
I struggled with that. Maybe it was like because it was a few months ago and maybe the code was just not ready yet.
Yeah.
But I was kind of excited to see how the speech to text and then the integration with different AIs, all that stuff works. I need to spend some time and dabble with it again.
Yeah, it has gotten quite a bit better. So you actually bought it when I was in your office because we were talking about it, and you're like, "I'm just gonna buy this now."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I bought it. I
You
got
bought it.
it, and
Yeah,
then I was able to configure it, and once in a while it would work. But the only
yeah,
thing it could do was like tell me a joke, and it was kind of always the same joke. And then I kind of
yeah,
got stuck there. I was just like, how do I get it to like do something intelligent? And
yeah,
then like I didn't spend enough time to like dive into it. But I imagine somebody's going to spend the time to do it, and then it'll probably be really cool. But usually, I suspect that Google, Apple, they're all trying to figure out how to replace their current voice assistants with something a little bit
yeah,
more intelligent.
yeah,
But they're probably trying to make it so that it's not unhinged.
Yes. Yeah. I
yeah,
think that's the
yeah.
issue.
I mean, Apple is struggling like crazy. It's almost like Siri got a little bit worse, kind of, in the last since they like AI enabled it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Strange.
I don't want to comment that. I'm
Yeah,
sure they'll
yeah,
figure it out eventually.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
with
It's
their
just tough.
their trillions of dollars in the bank, they should be able to figure it out.
That's it. And apparently there was some stuff that leaked or just some internal thing that was just like, "Hey, AI is our focus, like, we have to get it right," kinda thing, right? And which
I was really excited when they said that they announced their partnership with ChatGPT. I would have thought ChatGPT would just become the new Siri and it would actually tell you stuff that's intelligent. And I cared probably a little bit less with the integrations with the OS. They probably should have just, listed out a bunch of things that were enabled on the OS and everything else. Just make it so that their voice assistant is smart, right? Like incredibly intelligent, like ChatGPT is. That probably would have just been good enough because, like, a lot of the times I just have a general question in life that I need answered.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. Anyways, but that's just me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have the Nanoleaf canvas and the Nanoleaf elements behind me, and when I look at I remember opening the product packaging and the marketing, the nice photos of it all set up. I remember there's like a picture of a house, and it's just got a wall full of these canvas elements and stuff. Is that your house? Please tell me that is your
No.
house.
No. No. Actually, at our old office, we had a wall of, I believe it was like a couple hundred canvas panels. We had a
Yeah,
massive wall. We were too lazy to take it down. We just left it there for
yeah,
the tenant. But like it was really cool because like the canvas and our shapes products, they're designed to support up to about like 500 panels. It's
yeah,
really the limit was really just the data bus, right? Because like what you could do is you could just like add additional power, and we had like power distribution across all of our products to basically throttle the amount of current that's going through. But it was really cool. Like, but the thing is, like, in the in the consumer market, like, not a lot of people are going to be spending like thousands of dollars to like build that big of a wall. And then we were not really a commercial lighting company. A commercial lighting company, it's a different business model. Like usually it's like you got these like regional salespeople and they want to take a cut. Then you got like the installers, they want to take a cut, and really you end up with these products that are like $10,000 for an install. We're not like, we didn't want to be priced like that. We wanted to really focus on the consumer market. So it was just like we kind of realized like a couple years in, like you can't be everything for everyone. You either focus on the consumer market or you focus on the commercial market. And we just, I didn't necessarily want to spend my time building up a sales team. That wasn't my priority. So like our sales team, there's like in North America, it's like two people.
yeah. Right.
That's it. Yeah.
So yeah, you don't have a commercial side at all because you would see like businesses always have like fancy lights everywhere. So there's no like off random department in Nanoleaf that's doing like special commercial lights
No,
or anything. Yeah,
no. I think there is an opportunity there, but the hardware would have to be different, right? Like a lot of our hardware is just put up with stuff like double-sided tape or like simple screws, and like the whole selling point is that it's easy to install. Well, commercial lighting, they're like, no, make it hard so that we as an installer have a job, right? And then when you think about like commercial environments, a lot of the times like their networking requirements is complicated, right? Sometimes they have like extra security, like you first go to a website, you log in, and then you get like 1 day of access or something like that. Or it's just that it like the security on some of these like commercial Wi-Fi networks, they don't support like broadcasting of MDNS and stuff like that. So it ends up really screwing up like the fundamental way in which a lot of our smart home products work. So it's tricky.
Yeah.
It's tricky. Yeah.
And a lot
So
of them probably want wired in too, right? Instead of
mm,
Wi-Fi and those kind of things also, right? On
they
top
want
of
the
that too.
reliability of wired in. Yeah. So then you start thinking about stuff like DMX, but then it's just like, I don't know if you guys have been playing with DMX before, but it's like it was created like 50 years ago. It's just like
yeah,
Yeah. I haven't played with it. I know about it, and I'm good not playing with it.
it's actually really incredible though. Like
Yeah, it is.
so like when I didn't realize, but a lot of these like concerts and stuff, you literally have like a light DJ that's like
Oh, yeah.
standing at like a huge crazy dashboard, and they pre-program some lighting effects, but when the beat drops, they like push a button and then it goes pow, right? Like it's really cool, but it's also super like it's actually very manual. You'd be surprised at how
Yeah.
manual it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, those are the
So
guys in the middle of a concert, right? You got the sound and lighting guys together and
yeah. It's really cool. We that was something that I've always been very interested in, and like, if you get an opportunity, I would recommend download our desktop app. Um, we have a functionality in there called Orchestrator, and basically it captures the audio that's playing off your computer. It does a lot of audio processing to understand things like what's the genre of music, what's the BPM, what's
Oh
the
wow.
mood, what's the kind of like the chord that it's playing in, and it'll actually do different types of lighting effects to go with your music. And it's we actually, I believe we just released an integration with another company called Light Link, and they basically they do these like actually like personalized light shows. So these light DJs that work in concerts and nightclubs, they created a platform where they could create kind of their own lighting effects on top of songs. So if our desktop app detects that you're playing a song that has like a custom made light show, and there's about 1,000 of them that's been created so far, then it'll just create the like play this really cool light show for you that's
Oh
actually
wow.
custom made. So it's really cool stuff. Um, but it's very manual. Like somebody
Yeah.
literally went in and actually determined at every second what is gonna be the lighting effect, and then it'll play like when I played in my basement, it's really cool. Yeah, like
That's wicked.
it's pretty badass.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's cool because again, it's kind of what I was saying earlier, right? People think it's like, okay, it's lights, right? But it does so much, right? It changes your whole atmosphere, it changes whatever. But on top of that, it's also like just a really cool, like just a cool like downtime thing, even, right? Like it's like, hey, I want to chill, let's turn the lights down low, whatever, pop some music on, and then you got yourself a light show,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah, it's really cool. I think when
yeah,
I was a kid, I used to use Winamp. Do you guys remember
Oh
that?
yeah. When
Yeah,
really web
Winamp.
really
yes,
kicks the
yeah,
llama's ass, right?
yeah,
So back then they had the visualizers in Winamp.
yes,
I don't know.
Yeah.
And there was
Visualizers were big.
they were
Like,
yeah.
big.
yeah.
And as a kid, I would just sit there and I'd stare at my CRT monitor or whatever it was. And I'd be like, "This is so cool!" And I just listen to music,
Yeah.
and like to be like honestly, that was a lot of the inspiration behind like making our lights dance to music. Like first we had the onboard microphone to make it super
Mm.
easy, but then it was like if you're having a party or something, you need to speak louder than the music in order for the other person to hear you. So usually the voices are actually louder
Now
than the
it's
music.
yeah, yeah.
So it screws up the light show. So and also like we had some things with a microphone that's on board, you have to actually dynamically change the gain on the microphone in order to capture the music at the right volume. So what we have is if it's really quiet, it'll actually like increase the gain all the way up until all of a sudden now you're just hearing white noise. So it's just like it was hard to get that balance correct in kind of an auto magic way.
Yeah.
Whereas when you do the desktop app integration, then all of a sudden it's like you're capturing the audio and it's clean. And you could actually select the audio source. And then we do some stuff around like detecting what song it is. It's really, really cool. We spent a lot of like passion in developing that. Um, and it was very like it was very it's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd
So take
recommend
away
trying it
that
out.
microphone, like then you can get the source directly.
It's
Because yeah, that's
just
been my struggle, right? Like it's always been
yeah,
like a gimmicky thing to me because as soon as you play music, then you have to use your voice and then yeah to talk higher and it just doesn't work
Yeah.
as you said.
it, yeah, yeah. That's kind of the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if you start singing, then the lights just give up. They're like, "No, I'm not dealing with it." That'd be a fun mode. That's
It
funny.
is cool though. Like even with the microphone though, there was one of our lighting effects. It actually changed the color based on the pitch. So like if
Right.
you play like music by like a good vocalist, and as they hit the higher notes, you could see the colors change, and it's actually really it was really really cool. Like we were trying to create scenes that would react differently to different types of music. So if you're playing like a piano song or something like that, and you could actually see the notes as they go and they change in pitch. Um, and then of course if you're playing like an EDM song, you could have like different scenes that like really like bounce to the beat. So it's I think that like there's something really, I don't know, I'm a big, I love music. I have a piano behind me. I don't know if you could see,
Yeah, saw that
but
before.
it's I'm not, I wouldn't call myself a pianist or anything. I like to appreciate music, but I think
Yeah.
that there's definitely a beauty in it, and like being able to like kind of capture that in technology and in like in light. It's just it turns the product less into a functional piece, but more into like a piece of art and design. And and it's something that like it's definitely one of my favorite features of our product. But it's the best experience right now is still through our Orchestrator one app. um and Orchestrator, like we spent a lot of development work on it. We do have a free tier and we have a paid tier on it, and I think there's like been some backlash on that, but really the idea is we want to continue to invest in doing this, and the only way to do so is actually to have like some type of like money to put towards the development effort of it. But like the light link aspect is really really cool too. I wish I could share my screen and demo it. But yeah.
Any plans? Like, have you got any future plans? Like, if you've got a light in mind that you would love to see in the next, 5 years, like, because I guess like you've got a whole department or your team there is like working on what's the next product going to be. Have you thought about like where the eventual end goal is or what you're striving to head towards?
um I don't think that we're limited to lighting. I think that like when we started this company, like I shared with you guys earlier, like we started with solar products, and it was really like the idea behind Nanoleaf is just creating like products that that will kind of like bring joy to people's lives. I think one of the things like one of the reasons why I do what I do and why I love what I do is just seeing that like initial smile on someone's face when they see a product that we've made. Like when somebody sees our light panels for the first time, they're like, "Oh, this is kind of cool." And it's like, how do we create products that have that effect where it's just like, "Oh yeah, you know what? That's clever. That's smart. That's really interesting." Like, yeah, I want that. And so, like we like usually the products that I get really excited about are those types of products. So, like we do have some products in the pipeline where it's just like, like I'm personally like, yeah, I want
Yeah.
that. That's cool. And when it hits that mark, it's just like, okay, this is gonna be a good thing. But then at the
Yeah.
same time, like being in smart lighting, sometimes you just got to fill the assortment, right? Like people are like,
Sure.
do you have a light bulb? Or oh, we need some light strips. Or
Mm.
but like that's not something that I'm just like, oh my god, create a light
Yeah.
strip, right?
Yeah.
But people
It's
need
not
it.
it's not I get it. It's required, but it's not exciting or sexy
Yeah.
or any of that stuff, right?
Yeah. So like, like I'm not sure if you guys have seen our like this is our light switch. It's got a
Yeah.
motion sensor built in. I could turn it off, turn it on. It's controlling a whole bunch of the panels around my basement. You could do scene control, so it's just like you could change it to white light, you could change it to different scenes, and these could all be programmed in the app. And it's actually like controlling like 6 or 7 of the lights in my basement. I have another one for my down lights. This is so I could dim down my down lights. Ooh,
Mm.
Oh,
right.
nice.
But like usually I have them at the door because as soon as I walk in, it triggers the motion sensor. I just brought it to my desk to control the lighting for this podcast. But like this is all based off Thread, right? It's actually using a Thread radio. It's super energy efficient, and it's operating off of a coin cell battery with a motion sensor inside. And the whole idea of it is like people don't want to control their lights; they just want to walk in and have it turn on, right? And it's relatively cheap. I believe it's like $30 or something like that on our website, and it's it also works with Matter. It's a little finicky with Matter. It will requires a little bit of love. We're moving towards Matter and Thread 1.4, so that I think the whole industry is moving towards there. I'm sure your listeners probably know that it's much needed.
Yeah.
Matter and
Yeah.
Thread 1.4, both of them much needed. So, I think in the next 2 or 3 months we'll get there with a lot of our products, and they'll probably see a pretty big performance boost from that. But yeah, like I think all of these products that we spend a lot of time doing development on are things that we feel very passionate about, and things that we personally think are really cool, and we think will bring smiles to people's faces. We are developing a couple of things that are outside of lighting,
Yeah.
so you can stay tuned.
Watch this space. I like it. I do have a
Yeah.
question on those smart switches you just showed, if I can indulge you for a
Sure.
second. You said they matter over thread, I believe?
It supports Matter over Thread, but the way it works with Nanoleaf's products
Mhm.
is actually proprietary.
Okay, because I was thinking, oh, that would be a cool, if you could link just the buttons via Matter into Home Assistant, be a good, and then you could have
You
be
could. The
basically
thing
a
is,
remote switch.
right now we only support these two side buttons being ported into Matter. So you could
Okay.
have them be like a Matter controller for one or two things. In a perfect world, we'd also support our motion sensor as well as our light sensor and expose all of the buttons to Matter. But truth be told, Matter over Thread, it was not energy efficient enough. It was eating up way too much power, and we were like, and also most ecosystems didn't support it well. And so what you would have is like a popcorn effect with our products. So I don't think it supported like multicast at that time. I'm not sure if it supports it now, but like this is, let me see, is this for my downlights? No, let me so I'm gonna show you. So like right now, all of my downlights in this basement are controlled by this switch. And you'll see they turn on and off at the same time. And there's no popcorn effect, and it's instantaneous. You didn't get that with Matter over Thread. And so we tried to do it over Matter over Thread, and we're like, this is not a good enough experience. So we prioritize doing it in a way where it's just like, hey, now we have like a room full of lights that work really, really well, and you could do these really cool scenes with it, like all instantaneously with the button. Sorry, I'll just show you one more time. Now they're all like shiny different colors, and it's like, it's really cool. And it's all instantaneous. And right now there's 12 of them, all being controlled by this one button, instantaneously, all in sync, and like pretty much never getting out of sync.
And I think that's really important too,
That
right? Like
was
as soon
really
as you,
that's yeah. Like if with Matter, sometimes like I don't know, the Matter controller doesn't send a message out, and I'm just like, well, that wasn't me, right? Like, or like,
Yeah.
oh, you know what? Oh, your light switch isn't working. Go power cycle your Apple TV.
oh,
Right.
Like,
Right.
how does
wow,
that make any sense?
that makes no sense.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, what customer would know that? And they would just be like, return,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
1 star. And and that was kind of the challenge that like a lot of the times we'd face with stuff like Matter and Thread. It's just like, how do we get it so that it's actually super reliable in a way where it's just, like there was a period of time where like every ecosystem was on a different build of like Matter and a different build of Thread, and it was super unreliable. And like we didn't do anything, and a month or two later they would fix a bug, and then our product would work again, and then people would just be like, Natalie, if your products are crap, like
Right.
actually it was just, like, well, which smart home are you using? Let's dive into
mm.
this. And some of them spent the time to do that, some of them didn't. But I think the whole move to Matter 1.4, Thread 1.4, hopefully that will at least have like a certain level of a baseline for everybody. So I'm pretty excited about that.
It's interesting. One of the things when I think it was pretty much even the first day that when Phil and I landed at CES, we were walking around and asking some folks and be like, "Hey, what do you think of or like what do you think of Matter or Thread? Like, are you planning on using this in your products?" And I think it was one person, I forget who it was, but there's some vendor and that was like, "Wow, it barely works." Right. And that seems to be a theme across the board, right? There's a few vendors that were all in on Matter and all in on it, and then it's three groups, right? The groups that were genuinely all in on it, then the groups that were kind of like, it's here so that we can stick a label on our box, and then there was the ones that were just like, listen, the protocol's not here yet, and when it's here, we might consider it, right? Which is fair. Listen, I'm all for open and non-proprietary and all that stuff, and that is what I prefer primarily. However, to your point, Jimmy, I need it to work, right? If again, if I have that like popcorn, like you called it, that's
Yeah.
not going to fly,
So
right?
I think it's getting there. I think and the industry needs to move in that direction. So, I'm blessed with a bad memory. So I'm able to kind of continue to look forward without being traumatized by my past scars.
That's it.
I
That's
love it.
at least that's what you have to do, right? It's
I
otherwise
think
it's
that's
not
how you
gonna.
gotta live life, like for any listeners out there. It's just, especially as you get older, you pick up more and more baggage, and you don't want that
Yeah,
baggage to affect the way that you think. And
no,
like I think as an entrepreneur, like you have to be optimistic, and you have to be look forward. And like even though Matter at the beginning it was rough around the edges, but it's here to stay. And
yeah,
so like give it another try. Like now, to be honest, like I have all of my downlights, like I probably have like at least 30 thread devices in my house right now,
right.
and it works almost this pretty much flawlessly with Apple Home. I could probably just tell Siri to turn off my downlights and it'll just turn off.
Yeah.
And I haven't had any problems. Now, do I dare power cycle my Apple TV? No.
Yeah,
I'm still a little scared to doing that. But
Yes.
this is just it but like 1 or 2 years ago, it wasn't like that. It
right.
it was just like it was a little scary,
Yeah,
right? And same thing with Google, right? Like so it's I think that like, for those listeners that were like, "Oh, Matter sucks." Well, give it another try.
yeah,
Everyone's been putting a lot of work into making it better, and it's
absolutely.
gotten better. Is it
Yeah,
is it the best design protocol for smart? It could use some improvement.
yeah,
Maybe the
yeah,
open source community should kind of have at it, and they
Yeah.
should
Maybe
just
that's Matter 2.0.
just make it open source. Stop
Yeah.
having you know stop charging so many
crazy.
fees. No, I'm just kidding.
That's
Hope the
funny.
CSA is listening.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Jimmy, thank you so much for joining us on the show. This has been super insightful and just a fun.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. It was good times. We could do it again sometime.
Yeah, we'd love to.
Absolutely.
Sounds
All right.
good.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Take it easy, guys.